In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 80 of the ecochateas Tea Club, a competition-grade Wenshan Baozhong tea from Taiwan. Batch 80 of the ecochateas Tea Club is a competition-grade Wenshan Baozhong tea from the New Taipei area, northern Taiwan, a historical tea growing region. And Wenshan Baozhong is one of Taiwan's earliest claims to fame. It was being exported to the US and Europe in the late 1880s prior to the Japanese occupation, which began in 1895. So it's one of the, it's kind of the grandfather or at least predecessor of Taiwan's high mountain tea, in the sense that it's a green oolong, meaning that it is partially oxidized but minimally oxidized and unroasted. And in fact, Wenshan Baozhong is said to be the lightest degree of oxidation in the partially oxidized broad spectrum that includes all of our oolong teas. And it does, its character reflects that. What it often reminds me of, particularly the aromatic profile, is the scent and even the flavor profile of tea, high mountain tea in the factory right after of the kill green phase, after it's been exposed to high heat and tumble heating. And it's probably about 30% moisture left in the leaves, and tea makers usually will take that and brew it to see where it is at. Basically, it's kind of the first quality test, and they can adjust things, particularly the tumble heating, depending on how they think it tastes. But that flavor and that aromatic profile of high mountain tea, when it's basically, they call it half processed or half cured, it still needs to be rolled and dried the next day. So Wenshan Baozhong reminds me of high mountain tea in that half cured state prior to its rolling and drying. It just kind of maintains an element of freshness and a deep green herbal quality that is unique to Wenshan Baozhong. And in my perception, and I've bounced this off the source of this tea and other professional tea makers, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the leaves are left unrolled. They maintain their integrity, they're not broken down. There's a certain freshness quality that's locked in by allowing the leaves to maintain their structural integrity. The other thing is the processing methods, of course, determine its flavor profile, duh. But the way that Wenshan Baozhong differs significantly from high mountain oolong tea is that it's not tumbled as much. And this is where Wenshan Baozhong starts to differ. There are long periods of just letting the leaves set and slowly wither. And then they go through tumbling, but much lighter tumbling, much less time in the bamboo tumbler. So like a few minutes or less than 5 minutes compared to 10, 15, and up to an hour if they're making traditional Dongding oolong teas or more traditional heavily oxidized teas. So in short, 1/3 to 1/2 the tumbling time of high mountain tea. That also keeps it fresh. It does get slightly bruised, but it's just everything is more delicate in the processing of Wenshan Baozhong tea. So without further ado, I put 11 grams of tea in this 180 milliliter teapot. So that's like close to 1 to 17 ratio. I wanted to keep it a little lighter because this tea, it's about complexity and delicate composition. I did basically, the first brew was slightly under 1 minute, and then second, third, and fourth were about 1 minute. And then the fifth brew I left for about 1 minute and 30 or 40 seconds. So first brew. It's the most distinct herbal quality, in my opinion, of green oolongs, or actually all oolongs, or possibly all Taiwan teas. It's really profound and pronounced. I was just air conditioning the room because it's summertime here in Taiwan. It's probably 35 degrees Celsius outside and about to pour. So, so I brewed the tea, and when I stepped out of the room and came back in, the whole room was filled with this amazing fresh bouquet of herbal aroma. It can be referred to as floral. I think that's, you know, a fine line in certain cases. But to me, there's a more, a deeper, greener, fresh quality to it. But it's more aromatic. I wouldn't go vegetal. I wouldn't say it's in the vegetal profile because it's just so much of a bouquet. Nice, thick mouthfeel. So we sourced this tea just as it was made, really, or after he had finally gotten all his batches destemmed. This is machine harvested tea, so it must be destemmed at least to become competition grade. Okay, third brew. The mouthfeel combined with arugula, maybe like fresh baby greens, like the very tender lettuce leaves. It's holding strong in terms of the consistency. I didn't really notice any difference. This was a little lighter, the first brew. 2 and 3 tasted the same. Got a little bit lighter on the 4th brew there. It'll be interesting to try the 5th brew, that brewed longer. I do want to mention before I forget, this tea is really good for cold brewing and for iced tea, but because the leaves aren't tightly rolled, they open up more. But this has a substance to it and a complexity. When you brew it cold, it's like the high notes all come out and you're just getting super aromatic profile in your cold brew. So we definitely recommend you do that. Just throw like 5 to 7 grams of tea in a liter of water. 5 is enough for sure. And ideally let it sit for several hours or overnight in the fridge. I think cold brew, I like to do it for a couple hours out of the fridge and then put it in the fridge overnight and let it really kind of steep at lower temperature. Okay, 5th brew. Oh, stuck on there. It has gotten a bit lighter, but it's still very pleasing. The mouthfeel feels the same. It's just the flavor and the aromatic profile has shifted a bit. The nose. It's just so, it's like nothing else. It really isn't. Wenshan Baozhong tea is famous for a reason. And I should mention that it really is a niche and, well, I don't know if it's been dwindling in recent years, but it's a very small percentage of the overall tea production in Taiwan, like less than 2%. It's a small community of tea producers. There is a demand, a consistent demand. They complain about how they can't really break through the Taipei consumer base for it, but that's because the Taipei consumer base consumes it all. Like we here in central Taiwan, they've had conferences and various workshops, and the tea makers up there are like, yeah, why isn't our tea famous down in your area? And they're like, and the people that I know around here are like, well, you know, Taipei people drink Baozhong more than they drink high mountain tea, and you guys sell all your tea. There's not really much left after all your dedicated fans buy your produce. As usual, I really appreciate the first, second, third, and 4th brews mixed together. This has maintained some temperature. It's still warm. It's very soothing, as well as refreshing, but there's something about the herbal quality that fills your sinuses, and it's just, I don't know, it's like comforting. Very unique type of tea, competition grade. I should mention that we've been sourcing, this is from our regular source of Wenshan Baozhong. we really feel no reason to go anywhere else. He's consistently won awards pretty much every season. This tea won Youliang, which is a lower award. He said that the tea judge, the main guy, it's a smaller competition, although the other reason, this year the competition went from about 1,100 average entries to 1,600. So it increased by about a third. I'm not sure why, actually. I think more people are playing in the competitions. So he wins some award every time. He's won top 2% twice in the last 3 years. That's prestigious. When you get to that level of Tou Deng Jiang, you're doing well. He's also won he participated in a tea processing national competition and got champion prize for the best, hitting the mark basically for ideal oxidation level. And again, there's some magic in Wenshan Baozhong that people, high mountain tea makers, they're not sure what happens or what the Baozhong artisans are perceiving when they do their thing. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they gently oxidize their leaves, long, drawn out settling, and then just light tumbling. But whatever they do it well. And yeah, he got national champion prize 2 years ago, I believe. So that was cool. He kind of came down from the north to central Taiwan and represented a much smaller community of tea makers from the north. Okay, so as I said, the brewed leaves, let me quickly look at the dried leaves first to be more systematic. Very uniform coloration and size. It looks like an ideal size, not overly mature for sure. And the little yellow tips that we see are just where the stem meets the leaf. So it's been groomed or cleaned very thoroughly of its stem material, and it's basically all leaf material. The brewed leaves reveal a much more visible uniformity in color. And when you brew this, you can see that the majority is still in full leaf form, just without stems. Here's a leaf with the very tip missing, but that can be due to the actual processing of the tea as well. So it's not like choppy at all, otherwise it wouldn't be put into competition. It's mostly whole leaf material, spring, tender, Qingxin oolong leaf. Premium stuff. I need to taste this one more time before I stop talking. There's some sort of herbal musky thing, very fresh green, but also kind of heady, that goes all the way down to the back of your throat and hits your taste buds there and makes you salivate, actually. Good stuff. Okay, there we have it. Batch 80 of the ecochateas Tea Club, competition grade Wenshan Baozhong tea. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next month.